Roofing contractors, welcome to another episode of The Roofer's Den. I could not be more excited to have my guest in the studio today. I got Brendan from First Class Roofing. We're going to talk about what makes a great sales pitch, why it is so important to ask questions, and why you just need to give a shit about your customer, okay? So stay tuned, and it's going to be a great show today. Brendan, I'm so happy you can make it here today. I want to ask you a question, first of all, to get us started. I know we were talking about it before we came on the air today. I have this new little gadget right here. If anyone wants to see it, it's called Link. Basically, it's like a digital business card, if you want to look at it like that. Kind of a cool tool. Put your phone up to it. Gives you all the information about the person. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out, but we'll see.
I'm into it.
Hey,
I'm definitely into it.
There you go. There's your plug right there, Link. I'll throw that up there and give them a plug. But I want to start out with this kind of a general question about how you got started in the roofing industry, Brendan. What was it that got you started in the industry?
All right, so about 2 or so years ago, I was working in the food service industry as head waiter at a fine dining restaurant. Mm-hmm. And over the years of me working there, I had several roofing contractors come in, banquets, and obviously I have the gift of gab, and I would get job offers or people telling me that I should look into the industry more. And just being comfortable at the time, never really thought much of it. And I have 2 daughters, 5 and 4. And as they were getting older, I started realizing, like, you know what, I don't want to be a server forever. It's probably time I start looking into something else. And that's kind of brought me back to the roofing, and I was like, hey, let me look into this.
So what took you from being a waiter, and you make that decision, you say, okay, I don't want to have this for the next 10 years of my life. What is the next step to get you involved with roofing? Do you start looking at ads that are out there? Did you have a friend in the roofing industry? What got you involved?
So I have a bit of a sales background. I had sold cars before. I went back into the food service industry. So I knew sales was kind of my niche. So I definitely was looking for sales jobs. Being in Florida, most recession-proof industry there is, man, is roofing. So just kind of putting 2 and 2 together, I said, hey, let's give it a shot.
And then there was an ad out there, and you said, okay, I'm going to apply for this job?
Yeah, I applied to about 2 or 3 different roofing contractors and got 2 interviews, got both jobs like at the same time, and went with the bigger one of the 2.
And then how do you go from, you go ahead and you start. I know we work for one of the big box roofers out there, okay?
Most definitely.
We both had our baptism by fire there. How do you go from working with one for a company like that to being a part of First Class Roofing?
So bigger is not always better, folks.
Okay.
So being with that company, it's great. We've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. It was great for the fact that it allowed me to learn what I needed to learn about the industry. I wasn't coddled. I wasn't helped through the process. Like you said, baptism by fire. I was threw out there and I had to learn it. And that's exactly what I did because failure wasn't an option.
You know, I know the big box roofer that you worked with, and if there was anything like the training I got when I was there, you basically showed up for a day, they gave you 2 days worth of training and said, there, go sell some roofs. What is different about First Class Roofing? What do you guys do that's different than, big box roofer out there when it comes to preparing your people to sell in the field?
First step is how you hire.
Okay.
You can train all you want, but if you don't hire properly, you're just wasting your time and you're wasting money. So when I first came on board, we wanted to just hire everybody that we liked. They come in, we meet them, you have a good rapport, and you want to give them a job, especially in times like this when everybody's out of work. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the best way to hire is to take your time. Take 2-3 weeks a month. Have 20, 30 interviews and hire 3 or 4 people. Mm-hmm. Hire the best of the best. Because then when you bring them on, you know they're willing to stay. You know that they're loyal. You know that they want to be there because you picked them out of the litter.
What do you look for? When somebody comes to your door, is it their appearance? Is it the way they speak? Is it their work ethic, experience? What is it that you and Blake, what do you guys look for in somebody that you're hiring out there in the field that's going to be interacting with your customers?
People only change in times of desperation or inspiration. I want somebody that's either inspired or desperate.
And I agree with you. It's interesting. I've thought about this before because people always say, well, I hear it all the time when somebody gets their heart broken by a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I thought he was going to change. I thought she was going to change. People don't change. They never do. The only time, like you said, somebody changes, in my opinion, when they have a dramatic event in their life, dramatic or traumatic event in their life, or they're forced. They're absolutely forced to make a change because they have no other option that's available to them. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's emotionally, I'm not sure, but the only time that somebody really does make a change. So if you hear somebody that comes through your door and they're talking shit about some other roofing contractor that they worked with, they're going to talk shit about you. Nothing's going to change that just because right now you and them have a good rapport. So I like that because I believe in that. People do not change unless it's, that dramatic situation in their life that forces them to change.
You can only relate things to your own experiences, and I try to relate things as much to when I came into this industry. Like I said, I have 2 young daughters. I quit a job where I was making decent money.
Yeah.
And I came to this job and I took a huge pay cut in terms of my base pay in hopes that I can make commissions and make a better life for me and my family. So failure wasn't an option. And I see that all the time, is that people go into jobs and they have 2 or 3 interviews the next week after they just took a job. So they already have an exit plan. You can't do that. If you want to be successful in anything, you have to dedicate yourself. We're both come from a sports background. It's that Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Kobe was going to be the greatest. That was his only path in life, and that's how you have to operate. If you do something, you do it with your all.
I like what one of my guests said, Chris from Storm Restoration Services. He said, "Go out there and give it everything you've got for 60 to 90 days, and it will change your life in this industry." If you go out there and you truly give it 100%, you get up early in the morning, you're at your installs, you're working your installs. Because I see too many reps out there that are blaming the fact that it's on the company and that's why they're jumping from person. When you're not going to, selling roofs ain't easy. You got to get out there and you got to walk neighborhoods. It's probably going to be hot in the summertime. It's not a glamorous job per se, but it's rewarding if you put the time and the effort into it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about what you guys have been able to do, though, personally. You and Blake have helped, you're building a great company right now. What do you think is most important when you do hire somebody? Is it the training they receive or the individual themselves?
The individual themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because me and you both started at the same company, and we've obviously both made quite a decent living for ourselves. And there's a lot of people that started at that same company that are probably right back where they were before they were working there.
Know a few of them.
Yeah. So with that being said, we obviously went into that job and we did our own research and we found a way to make it. Now, my job as a manager and executive in a company is to bring people on and give them the tools to be successful. I don't want to hire people with the mentality of, I'm going to have a 50%, 60% turnover rate. I want to hire people with the plans of retaining them for 5, 10, 15 years. I want them to grow with the company.
That's great, man.
So if you're going to do that, then you need to take time out of your schedule and invest it into your people so that they can return that investment.
Oh, yeah, it's great, man. And so, you're out there and you're competing with these other guys out there in the field. What mistakes do you think that roofing contractors are making? What do you think, for guys out there, whether it be sales reps, companies, you've seen the good and the bad in the roofing industry. Give me a mistake that you think roofing contractors in the field are making. If they're watching this, maybe they're not even thinking about it. What mistake are they making out there right now?
If we're talking about on the doors.
Yeah, tell me about on the doors. I know you can sell. You head up sales where you're at right now. What mistakes are sales reps making when they're knocking on doors?
There's 2 things.
Okay.
One, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. When you're talking to customers on the doors, you got to listen. You got to figure out what their issues are, what their triggers are. And I don't like to use the word exploit it, but you have to direct your pitch based on what their triggers are and what they need. We spend too much time writing down a 6-page pitch and we're just regurgitating it to customers. And it'll work sometimes because that pitch may work for a specific customer. But then when you have the opposite customer, you're not able to handle them. So that would be number 1. Number 2 is you ask for the close way too early and you don't ask questions. So my pitch has always been very choppy. I make a statement followed by a question, another statement followed by a question. Therefore, it's a conversation rather than a sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
They're always involved. And then by the time I actually ask them to get on the roof and do an inspection, I'm their friend.
That's great.
There's no opportunity for them to say no, because why would they?
I always thought that, when I was out there and I was selling, I tried to build the relationship through a story. So if you don't know what to say, nothing wrong with just telling a story about, hey, I listened about a roof that happened a couple weeks ago, something you saw that relates to what they're having. Telling somebody a story and just getting involved with them to get a conversation going, it doesn't always have to be about an assumptive close and isolate the objection. And let me ask is, just worry about just, hey man, how you doing? Let's talk a little bit. Hey, I was in your neighborhood last week. I saw your neighbor got a new roof that was put on. I wanted to stop by because, hey, I saw that. I thought you might be interested in the same. Has anybody talked to you about it? You can get a new roof for the price of your deductible. Start up a conversation with people instead of just, what is your, people start jumping into, well, what's your policy like? What's your deductible? Start asking those questions, and people aren't ready for it.
Exactly.
Just build some character with somebody. That'll go a long ways.
Everybody's a person. Everybody's not a dollar sign.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue, it's not just in roofing sales, it's in business, is all we see is dollar signs. And you take the emotion out of it and you take the person out of it. And then in turn, you're not as good at your job. You need to understand the people that you're working with. And once you do that, the results are limitless.
So I'm going to ask you kind of a difficult question here because I get different answers from the podcast from everybody that I ask, okay? Uh-huh. So let's just say you're working in a neighborhood, the average price of the home is $100,000. Are you approaching that door differently than somebody it's a $500,000 home? Is there a different approach for the area that you're in? It's a tough question. I get varied answers.
It is. So one thing I will say is you need to have all your tools at hand. So when I'm working in a lower middle class community, there's a lot of renters. If you're going and knocking every single door in a community that has 60-70% renters, you're going to waste your entire day. So I use the property appraiser website for one, so I'm not wasting my time.
Be prepared, folks. Yeah. That's what it's about.
Not knocking on bad doors.
Absolutely.
When you're in a $500,000 to $750,000 neighborhood, you don't need to worry about that. Everybody that lives there owns their home.
That's a great point.
So that helps there. A lot of times you need to look at the house you're dealing with. And that's how you find the triggers with people. If I go and knock on a door and they have beautiful landscaping, mention how beautiful their home is. Because because it's a $100,000 home, that's their $100,000 home. They invested every single penny that they have into that home. They care about it. They care about it probably more than the person that owns a $750,000 home, because the guy that owns a $750,000 home has 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So like I said, you got to find the triggers with people. You got to find what matters to them and preach on it.
That's what makes First Class different right there, is that, I asked you a question about, the difference in the type of house, but what you're focused on is the type of person, what kind of individual, what are their needs? Because the fact is, I think you're right, is that the needs of a person at a $100,000 home might match the needs of a person at a $500,000 home, or they might not. But you're not going to know unless you just ask the person the questions to figure it out first. I think that a lot of times as sales reps, whether you're in the roofing industry or not, you make assumptions about people. Whether it be on a car dealership or they're walking into Best Buy, if you're selling them a stereo, it doesn't matter. You make assumptions before you ask the question. If somebody answers the door for you and you're assuming already they're not going to need a new roof, you've shot yourself in the foot. They may very well have been talking about it 5 minutes before you came that their neighbor got a new roof. But if you don't ask the questions, you just assume, I'm just here, just going through the motions again. That sell is not going to be yours.
No.
You got to figure out what their needs are. The way that I put it, I even put it worse than what you do when I tell my sales guys is, find the wound, pour some salt in it, and then put your thumb into that wound and rub on it and make it hurt. And what I mean by that is find out where their pain points are. Find out where, hey man, okay, listen, I've got a leak. I've had a leak in my laundry room for the last year. Really? Okay, well, do you know that can lead to mold? Do you know what's going on in your attic? Do you know these things so that I can go ahead and I've got a prescription to take care of it? Do you agree? I mean, ask those questions, find out where the problem, isolate where the problem really is. And don't leave it. Put the thumb into it. You know what I mean? Because I think that's so important for people to understand is that when you're a sales rep out there, every customer is going to have a different story. So find out where their pain point is by asking questions, and then be the solution to whatever that pain is. Be the Band-Aid.
1,000%. We talk about this. One of the most important things about sales is knowing who you're talking to. So I'm able to talk to you about sales differently than I'm going to be able to talk to a homeowner. So when you tell me about finding the pain point, I know exactly what you're talking about. Homeowners think that you're trying to cause trouble. No, quite the contrary. I'm trying to find a solution to your problems. Mm-hmm. The only way I can find a solution to your problems is by figuring out what your problems are. And if you don't take the time to do that, everybody's wasting their time. If I knock on a door and I don't take the time to figure out what's going on with the homeowner and I just want to get them a new roof,
yep.
and I don't take the time to figure out what's going on in their life, I could have quickly found out that they've already sold their home and they're under contract and they've already passed inspection. They're not putting in a roof.
Yeah. So, I think you bring up a good point there. But I want to kind of switch it over a little bit and talk a little bit about you and what you train your sales reps for, and they're in the field, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're sitting down at a dining room table, there's obviously going to be objections. I want to hear from you this. What's the number one objection that you think homeowners give to a sales pitch for roofing? You're a roofing contractor. You're out there at the table. What is the number one objection you think that they're going to receive when they try to sell somebody on a new roof?
And we're talking about storm restoration going through insurance?
Sure, going through insurance.
My rates are going to go up.
And how do you, because I know you've combated it many times before, there's a sales rep that's listening to this that keeps on getting that objection. How are you combating that?
Well, your insurance rates have already gone up, folks. They've been going up the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. You see Jim across the street, Sally across the street, Sue behind you, they've all gotten new roofs. So all the insurance companies know that a storm is hit, that there's damage, and you're paying the price. So why are you paying for all your neighbors' roofs? Somebody needs to pay for yours. So let's get this done.
Boom. Just like that. The objection is killed. And the roof is sold.
Exactly. You gotta listen to what they're asking you.
That's great, man. Yeah. And that's the key, man. You gotta listen. You know what I mean? All right, now I want to do something a little fun right here. I'm going to do a rapid fire round with you, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions. They're going to be a little off the wall. Some of them are roofing, some of them are not. I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Favorite cartoon of all time? You can go anything from like Scooby-Doo all the way to the new stuff, all the way to the animated.
Let's go Looney Tunes.
That's not there's a bunch of different Looney Tunes. You could have Bugs Bunny. You could have
like my favorite cartoon character.
Yeah. Favorite cartoon
Bugs
character.
Bunny.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bugs Bunny. Karaoke song that is your go-to karaoke song if you're going out after a few drinks. Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas.
That's a great song. Don't sleep on Mariah Carey.
Is it the best Christmas song of all time?
I feel like Nat King Cole has one that probably has her beat. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I think Nat King Cole's.
All right.
For karaoke, I'm gonna say Drake One Dance.
Okay, I love it. What's your go-to drink when you go out, man? What does Brendan drink?
Old fashioned.
Old fashioned.
Yeah.
What motivates you to get up and do what you do every day with First Class Roofing?
My beautiful children.
Okay.
My 2 daughters.
How old are they?
Yeah, 5 and 4.
Who do you look up to? Who's a mentor or someone that Brendan looks up to?
So my father would definitely be my emotional mentor. My business mentor would actually be Blake's dad.
Blake's dad?
Yeah, Blake's dad, Mr. Stewart.
So we're coming back to that real quick, but I'm going to go into Blake real quick. Give me one word that describes your business partner, Blake. Come on, quick.
Consistent.
I like it. Most important quality a person should look for in a roofing contractor. What's the most important quality?
Honesty.
And let me ask you this, what are you looking to improve in First Class Roofing in 2021? What one thing as a company are you focused in on improving in 2021?
Consistency. I want every month $1 to $2 million with consistency and there are no lulls.
So let's go back to that question about who you look up to. Blake's father. I've met Blake. Great guy. I can see why y'all get along. Now, Blake handles the operations for First Class. You handle the sales, am I right?
Yeah.
So how did you meet Blake, and how do you guys get involved together in First Class Roofing?
So me and Blake met at our previous contractor that we worked at.
Okay.
And he actually started probably about 6 months after me. and I actually trained him, and we just hit it off, and he reminded me a lot of myself, drove me crazy, asked me questions every 5 minutes. He would call me if he's on the field, ask me questions, but I love that because that's exactly how I was when I was started. And to any rep starting out in this industry, be a nuisance. Be a nuisance. Get out of your comfort zone. Everybody that starts in any new job, what do? You start in orientation and you hang out with all the people in your orientation class.
Always.
And guess what? Those people know just as much, if not less, than what you do. Instead, get into a company and find the best person. I don't care if you have $30 in your bank account, take them out to lunch and spend $20. Get to know them. Let them know that you're serious. And I bet you they will take time out of their schedule to make sure that you succeed.
So how do you go then from, you get to know Blake, you're training him per se.
Yeah.
And then how do you get to know his father, and how do you end up as business partners doing first class? How does that whole situation play out?
So he knew someone through our shingle manufacturer that knew Glenn and Devonna, and then that's how he got in contact with them.
Right.
And then when he met them, he was like, listen, you guys need to meet Brendan. And brought me in. We all met, and kind of the rest is history, man. I'm a big gut guy. My guts never steered me wrong in my adult life, and if I meet somebody and it's strong, I listen, and it's worked.
So how do you balance then? I mean, you go from, you guys, obviously you've hit it off, and you and Blake have a great thing what you do over there at First Class, but you mentioned that you've got your 2 daughters. Do you find it tough to balance the time between running a business and then also having a family as well, and having some time for yourself? How do you balance that time each and every week?
It's extremely difficult.
Right.
It's extremely difficult no matter if you're working 60, 70 hours a week or if you're working night shift at the hospital. It's a problem that everybody faces in this world, but you have to make time, number one. And it does help a lot that I am working for such a family-oriented business. And if I have any issues, I can call Glenn and Devonna, and I can take care of whatever I need to take care of. And that trickles down in the company. If one of my reps called me and they had an emergency with their family, take care of it. Because I know if you're thinking about that on the clock, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, you're not fully mentally there.
You're not.
So you mentioned hospitals a few minutes ago. I know we have a mutual friend who's in the nursing industry, okay? And what I will say is this, is that COVID has changed the game and how people look at door-to-door sales. Some people are a little bit timid about having somebody in their house, especially if they're a little older. Do you see that COVID has changed roofing at all? Or do you guys, it's another day? You tell me.
This is kind of a two-part question. So COVID has helped the roofing industry immensely.
What a great way to look at it, man, because not a lot of people do. That's such an incredible way to look at things.
It's helped us so much. People are home.
Tell me why. Oh, that's such
People
a good point.
are home. The hardest part of this business is getting the home that has damage with the homeowners at home at the same time. Now you go into a neighborhood and everybody's home.
That's such a great way to look at it.
You go into a neighborhood at 3, 4 o'clock, the kids are getting off the bus, the entire family's going for a walk. What more could you ask for? It's given us an opportunity to not only have your pitch on the doors down, but your pitch when somebody's just walking down the street, I can go and talk to them and find a way to flip it to how their roof is messed up. Everything is an opportunity.
That's such a great way to look at it. I'm so sick of hearing roofers bitch and moan about COVID. They can't do, door-to-door sales anymore because no one will let them in their house. That right there is how you need to look at roofing. It's an opportunity is what you have. It's not a detriment. It's an opportunity to have those people at home, to be able to pitch to them, talk to them outside, be in the damn neighborhood and do your job. That's an incredible way to look at it.
24 hours in a day, if I'm spending 4 hours a day complaining, 8 hours a day sleeping, another 3 hours a day eating, when the hell am I going to get work done?
No.
I'm not wasting my time complaining, man. I'm out here trying to make money.
Speaking of time, then, how do you start your mornings out? What's a morning like for you? Do you start early in the morning? Do you start late at night? I mean, do you work till late at night? How do you get yourself going in the morning?
So this is
work with the kids? I don't know.
This is my detriment, people, because we got to be honest with ourselves. I am not a morning person.
I get that.
I hate mornings, but it's something, being in business, like I've learned that I have to do. So I try to do some sort of morning meditation or self-development, 10 minutes in the morning, just to get my day going, get in the shower, wake myself up, and get my day going. Routine is so important in business. You have to know what you're doing the next day. If you're going to sleep blind as to what the next day has in store, you're not going to be successful.
So do you plan out your day the night before of what you're going to be doing?
5 o'clock before I leave the office, I call my office manager, see what I have on my schedule. If I have anything booked in, if it's booked in, then pretty much I know what my day is going to look like. But if it's open, then I go to my whiteboard and I look at my checklist and I see what I have to knock out for the next day.
I think that's so key, man. I think a lot of people get up in the morning and they just have no clue what the day is going to bring. They're sales reps especially. They just don't know what's going to happen. What neighborhood am I going to go to? What doors am I going to knock? Do I have enough door hangers here? Just kind of, see what happens. I'm going to go out there. But you got to show up. You got to be ready. You got to be mentally ready to go when you go out there. It's a battle, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're battling to get the roof. There's also 100 other companies that are battling against you. It's not just you against the homeowner and you against you. I mean, you got other people out there trying to take your money too. They're going to try to sell that roof. I mean, so you got to be the one who's out there ready to go each and every day. Always.
It's the competitive spirit, man. You have to be competitive in this industry. There's no way. How are you going to succeed? That was one thing that I loved at the previous employer I worked with. That was kind of the mantra. You wanted to be number one, and if you weren't number one, can I curse on this?
Yeah, of course.
You were shit.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, as I know that doesn't work for everybody, it damn sure works for me. I love that. If someone signs a contract, I'm going to go find a way to sign too. That's my mentality. It's worked for me my entire life. I know not everybody's like that, but that competitive spirit, I feel like it's necessary in this industry for sure.
How do you motivate your people? Do you go by difference between? Because I would say that some people aren't motivated by money.
Individual.
So you got to find what motivates that individual. Like I can tell by you love your daughters. That motivates you. The life that you can provide for them. As you said earlier, not being a waiter. You said I wanted something better for my family. But some people it's just maybe they want to buy a Range Rover.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to pop bottles. You know what I mean? Drink old fashions. Who knows? But from what I'm thinking is just find out what motivates your employees and then just push to that.
Talk to your people.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that as a society we don't talk anymore. Talk to your people, hire them, see what makes them tick. Hey, do you like mornings? Do you like afternoons? Everybody shouldn't be working the same schedule. Don't have it set that everybody needs to work 8 to 6. Because what if you have a rep that can get all of his work done in 2 hours? And that's his goal, is to get all of his work done in 2 hours and go home and spend time with his family. And that rep's going to produce more than the guy that's working 9 hours a day. Why am I going to make him feel bad because he's putting in less hours? No, if that's what makes you work and that's what's going to make you successful, then do it. Right. Empower your people. Figure out what they need and get it to them. That's how you build successful people. Not everybody's like me. I don't want everybody to be like me. This world would be a crazy ass place if everybody was like me. Right. We need some differences. So if your priority is spending more quality time with your family, how can we get your work done in 3 to 4 days so you can have a 3-day weekend?
Because that's your priority.
That's your priority. If your goal is to make $500,000 in 2021, let's sit down and see what we need to do to get you to that number. How many contracts do you need to sign a week? How many doors do you need to knock a day?
Yep, and there's not enough roofing contractors that are doing that with their sales rep or their team. I would challenge roofing contractors to get out there right now, from your top to your bottom. It's the time of the year right now. We've got a dead week coming up at the end of December coming up right here. It's a slow time anyway. Take everybody to the side. Figure out what their damn goals are for 2021. Is it money? Is it time with the family? Is it recognition? Is it a promotion? What does your employee want out of 2021? Not just your sales guys, but what is it, as we said, project managers, what do we want from our production? What does the back office want? What is everyone looking to accomplish in 2021? Would you agree? I mean, that's
1,000%.
That's what we're trying to do next week, is that we've got some downtime. Let's figure out what people want out of this thing, because they don't own the company. And if you're a sales rep out there, you don't own the company. So that's okay though. But you're not going to want the same thing that the owner wants because you don't have equity in the thing.
It's all a give and take. I can't go to you and just give you a job and expect you to do everything. That's not how this works. I'm going to give you a job, and I'm going to give you expectations that I have with that job. And I want you to give me expectations that you have of this company. And we're going to meet somewhere in the middle, and we're going to have a happy relationship. And that's how you keep people for 10, 15, 20 years.
That's correct.
Because you don't find that everywhere.
You
don't find collaborative efforts.
No. I think that's the thing is you've got to empower people, as you said, and you've got to come together and figure out what you both can do for each other. I think so many times companies are looking to hire sales reps and say, go sell me a roof. Well, what are you doing for me? Well, I'm giving you a paycheck. That's not enough. What about building an environment that's a family-oriented environment? What about building something for somebody where they can have the third day off if they need it? What about having an environment where people they have healthcare coverage, or they can get off if they're sick and not have to worry about losing their job? You know, the company that you and I worked for before this, I think you would agree with me. They were the big box roofer, one of the largest in the nation. And if somebody got sick in your family and you had to be gone for 2 weeks, I would expect that person's going to lose their job in that company. And that's a tough, tough feeling. As a roofing contractor, if you're looking to build your business, build it like First Class is done right here, where their employees are empowered. And if your people get sick, they get COVID, they can't make it to work, they're not losing their job because of that. Now, you will lose your job if you're lazy and you don't want to put in effort. But taking care of people, finding out what motivates them, empowering them, that's the First Class difference that I've been able to see from behind the scenes and working with them.
I appreciate that. That means the world, Patrick.
That's true.
Definitely.
Well, I've been able to sit down with you and Blake, and and see what your office is and what the way you treat people. And what was that story you guys were telling me about? There was an individual, a client of yours. He must have called you a dozen times a day, and you're going to pick up every time. And I know, and Blake is sitting there like, oh, well, you got to pick up every time. Yep, we got to pick up every single time. And even if it's just because that person just wants to talk to you, you guys answer the phone because you give a shit. And that's not something that you see with a lot of roofing contractors out there. They talk a big game, but then they go out and they sell the roof, and there's no service after the sale.
Yeah.
We just started our relationship with My Claims Care. I liked what one of the things you told me is when we call and we introduce ourselves to your homeowners, we're not salespeople. What are we? We're
project managers.
We're project managers. This is so key. I mean, that's how it starts, folks, from the top down, is that the little details that Brendan is putting into his company, him and Blake, make the difference in how your customer looks at you. Because when My Claims Care gets involved, we are an extension of that company. So what they told me is, hey, listen, when you call our guys, we're project managers. We're not sales reps. We're there to help the customer through the process. We're not there just to sell a roof and be done with it. We don't want customers looking at us that way because your reputation matters.
1,000%. 1,000%. Salesman's such a dirty word, man. It's such a dirty word. It's so outdated. We have to grow with the times. People don't want to be sold. They don't want to be sold. They want to feel important. They want to be guided through the process, and they want to feel like they made the decision. Mm-hmm. It may be the decision that you want them to make, but you have to guide them. And that's what being a project manager is doing. You're managing their project from start to finish.
And that starts with being the project. I mean, let's just all call it what it is. Everybody can talk about digital door knocking and marketing. And me and you were talking about before the cameras went on, how we can push ads to Facebook and Instagram. But no matter how you do it, you still got to get in front of the customer. You still have to speak to them if you want to sell them a roof. So you better get that part down, whether it's an incoming lead or whether you're just cold knocking on their door. You're still going to have to speak with that individual. So can you talk about this? Because anytime somebody gets on the phone with a roofing contractor, their guard is up. Mm-hmm. They've got the hair on the back of their neck. Are they trying to screw me over? They're trying to do something to get one over on me. What do you do what do you teach your guys? What can they do to help somebody let their guard down? To help somebody say, okay, this person's on my side. I can trust this individual right here. What do you teach your guys?
Questions. Yeah. You go into a department store and you want to buy a suit. You go and you say, hey, I want a suit. And then the guy just takes you to the rack and starts handing you suits. The guy doesn't give a shit about you. He just wants to sell a suit. If you go into a department store and you tell the guy that you want a suit, he says, all right, do you want double-breasted, two-button, you want a three-piece suit, do you want pleated pants, flat pants, color, what event are you going to? What is this going to be for? That's the guy that you're going to take your time with, and I guarantee you're going to buy your suit with him.
Yep. And there's not a lot of people that are doing that. You're absolutely right, because what they look at is they get in front of somebody, I'm here to sell you a roof, let me sell you a roof, you don't want a roof, okay, bye. And they're not looking at it and ask the questions to help the person. I can't tell you, if you just change your mentality as a sales individual to I want to sell to I want to help this individual, and you've got to believe it. You've got to believe you have a product that can help that person. If you're walking up to that door to sell a roof and you don't believe that first-class roofing roof can help this person, you're going to fail most of the time. You can put on the act all you want, and you can try to go get them and all that, but you've got to really believe it. And if you work for a company where you don't believe in the product that you're selling, then you contact Brendan and go to work for First Class and get a product that you can actually believe in rather than trying to put on a fake facade.
1,000%. Stop selling and start advocating.
Oh, yeah.
Stop selling, start advocating. Get behind your homeowners, support them through the process. Make them know that they're a part of your family. You're here to help. And I guarantee you, referrals will build. They'll start giving you all their rental properties. Mm-hmm. You'll go out and inspect homes that don't have damage, and they'll call you out every 6 months, every time they have a rainstorm, hoping that they find damage so that they can go with you.
Yep.
And now you're not knocking doors anymore because your pipeline's so full just because you're taking care of people. It makes your job so much easier. And you want to know what else makes your job so much easier? When you ask questions, you know exactly what information you need to give that homeowner to get the deal closed.
Absolutely.
If you walk in with a cookie cutter approach every single time, you're only going to be successful so many times.
See, I would challenge a lot of sales reps, because I love this. Ask questions. I think that's what sales reps will get out of this. Is take 5 questions. Okay, write them down, because in the moment you may forget what to ask. Mm-hmm. You may be a little bit, you're trying to close the deal. But these are questions that you should be asking every single time. You got to figure out why you're there in the first place. What if you've got some damage? Do they know what happened? Do they know when the storm was? Do they know that there was a storm in the area and that other people are getting roofs on for their deductible? Are they aware of these kind of things? But be sure to write down those questions that you want to ask the individual first. Get a game plan together. These are some things that are going to help you right there before you ever do a door knock or before you get on the phone with somebody. And
those questions should be built in terms of importance.
Okay.
You don't want to go for the heavy hitters up front, because that's when people shut down. So things like, what is your insurance company? What's your that scares people.
Yes, yeah, that's not an immediate question.
That's not an immediate question. So you have to build trust. Hey, I'm working with Susie down the street. She had some storm damage from the storm back in May. Were you here for that?
You're in what you're doing right there is you're combining a story with a question. You know what I mean? You're developing an emotion with your customer that, okay, well, I know Susie, she's good people. I drive past her house. He did the roof over there and was talking to her. In their mind, they're okay, now I've got an emotional response to this. Plus, he's interested in me right now. So I think that's a combination. I always tell people, build the story with it.
I kind of just thought about this right now. If you approach the doors like a podcast, you'd be so successful.
Yeah.
As we talk, I give you some information, you react to that information, you ask another question. Mm-hmm. And that's how everything is a conversation. The more conversational it is, the more successful you'll be, because you're not attacking people.
Yeah.
That's the thing with salesmen. We're always on attack. We're dogs. We're feasting. Like that's what you need to be successful in this industry. Mm-hmm. You need to know your faults and know you are an aggressive person and know that that's what you've needed to be to get to this point in life. And just taper it back.
Yeah.
And use it when it's needed. If I'm with an aggressive homeowner, I can match that aggression very easily. Mm-hmm. Most homeowners aren't aggressive.
Nope.
Most homeowners you need to talk calm with. I have a very deep voice, so do you.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to a 75-year-old woman, my voice gets like this, and I'm 6'4". I become 5'7", and like, you have to see your homeowners and make them feel comfortable.
Yep.
If I'm talking to an 80-year-old woman, 6'4", 240 pounds, I'm a little intimidating. I need to kind of calm that down a little bit.
Well, you said about suits, when I love that example, somebody asking, if I just walked into a men's warehouse and I said I want to buy a suit and they just started pulling some off to give to me without asking me my size or color or tailored fit, what would I like? I look at door-to-door sales or any kind of sales, the same as picking up women in a bar. So let me explain a little bit of what I'm talking about here. If you go over to a woman and you're trying to approach her and you're trying to do something, you usually don't just walk up and just start telling her all the wonderful things about you. Hey, listen, I just want to tell you I've got a great career. I'm good looking, great in bed. I'm awesome, okay? I mean, I'm awesome in every way. You're going to want to go with me tonight. You don't know anything about the person.
No.
So what you're inevitably going to do when you're talking to a woman or you're talking to a guy in a bar or dating situation is you're going to ask questions of that individual. Hey, what brought you out tonight? Can I buy you a drink? Can I talk to you a little bit about this or that? I noticed you for this reason right here. Nothing wrong with giving a compliment. The same thing with a homeowner. But yet we try to go ahead and overcomplicate it and stuff. But I tell my sales guys, when you're calling an individual, look at it like a dating game, all right? Let's find out where there's some commonality and let's go ahead and talk about that. Mm-hmm. Let's not try to sell them right away with those questions like, what's your insurance company? Or, those invading questions right there. It's like walking up to a girl and asking her, tell me about your last relationship. Why didn't it work out? What? Like, why? What business of that is yours?
You're so right.
You know what I mean?
You are so right.
Like, I don't care. I'm not telling you anything about myself until I've built some rapport with you.
Yeah.
So attack that door like you would attack any kind of dating situation. You're getting to know your wife or your girlfriend. Think back to that. Ask the questions, and then once you've built the trust, you can go into those, hey, why didn't things work out with you and your ex type deal?
Yeah, 1,000%. Another big thing that I want to add to that is people don't know how to operate in silence. And it's the most powerful time. I love silence.
Ooh, it's awkward.
I freaking love silence. And once you get to that point in life, not even just in sales, just in life where you can operate in silence, you're an expert. You ask a question to somebody. If I ask a question to you and your response is no, you didn't give a time to really hear what I asked you. But if I ask you a question, you sit down there for 10, 15 seconds and you're nodding your head or you're shaking your head and I can see your wheels are turning, and I'm just sitting here like this watching you. And if I want you to say yes, I'm going like this. And if I want you to say no, I'm going like this. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to do exactly what I told you to do. It's powerful. And if you don't, you're going to ask a question or you're going to say something that gives me an opportunity to then close you on top of that. But if you're sitting there in silence and I interrupt your thought process, now I don't care about you. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking for the sale. I'm just looking to close.
I always say ask the question, then shut up. Because you're right. It's such a powerful time right there. That silence, that awkwardness of, okay, I'm going to get an answer here. But if it takes 15 seconds, you don't need to go ask another question. But wait for the answer.
1,000%.
If you believe that what you're asking has relevance to that individual, if you truly believe you are there to help them and that you're not just selling them on something, and that's where it comes back to what we said, you've got to believe in the product, then that question is important. There's no need to ask a question because they're thinking about it. You get awkward and you go, well, tell me about the storm anyway. Wait for your answer. Ask the question and shut your mouth. And then they'll be able to tell you what you need to close them.
Exactly.
So I want to ask two final questions of you, okay? First of all, you're a new client of ours over at My Claims Care. Can you talk a little bit about why you and Blake decided to move forward with working with My Claims Care, some of the advantages that you saw in the program, and then I want to ask you something about First Class.
Well, I talked about it earlier. Gut is everything for me. I met you guys, and I remember when Marissa, my office manager, told me that you were coming in. I was like, man, I got so much shit to do. I gotta go take this freaking meal. I'm like, Marissa, just go run it. And then I seen you guys come in. I'm like, this guy looks like a shark. Let me just go in there with it.
That's great, man.
And then I met with you, and you guys were awesome. You were on the ball. Every single question I asked, you guys handled with efficiency. And also, one thing that I liked is you were open to suggestions. I think in any businessman, businesswoman, your business is your baby. You've spent the time, you've nurtured it, you've built it up. And one thing that I was very impressed with the both of you is that when I made suggestions to you or I had any objections, you were willing to actually hear and resolve them. And you don't see that very often. Yeah, you really don't.
Well, too many people are interested in offering a cookie cutter approach. So what we tried to do with My Claims Care is to say every customer is different. First Class Roofing is built differently than ABC Roofing up in Wisconsin. And that's important to know because like you said, when we call somebody for First Class Roofing, we should have a different tone than when we call somebody for ABC Roofing. And that's what all of our clients should want. Okay, it's not just about a cookie cutter approach. It's let's identify ourselves and become a part of their company and their back office. And the only way you can do that is by adapting to what their needs are.
1,000%. It's an unbelievable way to grow your team. Not only from the aspect of I have more administrative positions now because you guys are essentially filling it for me, but it now gives me the opportunity as the director of sales to go out and hire more salespeople because I have the administrative backing behind me. It has now put me in a position to help more people, more customers that need new roofs, more people that are out of work right now or that are seeking better opportunities. Yep. I want to help people, and this platform, us working together, gives us opportunities to help 10, 15 times more people, and I'm very thankful for that.
And that's what we want to do. We want to help people, and that's the last question that I have for you is about that. You've got a lot of people out there that are considering going to work in the roofing industry, especially right now. Why should an individual choose to work with First Class Roofing? What makes you different from the rest?
We care. We care.
You give a shit.
We give a shit. We give a shit about our customers. We give a shit about the products we use. We give a shit about our reps. We give a shit about our team. You're our family. I look at it like this. I plan on being with the company for the next 20, 30 years. My kids are 5 and 4.
Yep.
Where are they going to be in 20 years? They're going to be 25 and 24. They're going to know Blake. They're going to know Marissa. They're going to know Glenn. They're going to know Nirvana. They're going to grow up with them. It's the same thing. I want that for everybody.
Yep.
So come on, join the team, man. Be a part of the family.
I think it's great, man. And so that's where I want to end it right there. I appreciate you coming out. But folks, this is what makes a successful company. It's having somebody who leads your sales team like this, who cares about the customers, the experience they have, and wants to learn about the customers, asking questions to figure out what are their needs, and then adapting to that. Just like My Claims Care adapts to what your needs are at First Class, First Class is out there adapting to the needs of the homeowner. They're not making excuses about COVID. I love what I heard right there. And it's not a detriment, it's an opportunity what's going out there because you got people at home and you're taking advantage of it right now. And I love that. So watch out for Brendan and his team. They are taking over Central Florida with First Class Roofing. I'm excited to have them as a client and see what they do over the next months to come. And you won't find somebody who gives a crap more than this guy. He's a great guy and look forward to having him with a drink with him, old fashioned. That's what it's going to be. All right, thanks all very much.